What is up? What is up? Welcome back to another NBA Rundown brought to you courtesy of Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets. I'm joined today by JSU. He's the premier man in the final countdown brought to you by Run Pure Sports, a show that I enjoy watching myself. JSU, I know you've had some nice weeks lately. How's everything been going there on the DFS side?
Yeah, it's been good. Not as good last night, but we come back strong tonight, hopefully, and we got NFL Showdown as well. So been doing well in the Showdown streets in NFL. So hopefully that can continue too. Not just NBA. We got all sports over at Run Pure Sports, and be doing an NFL Showdown show actually after I jump off with you at 3:30 Eastern with Big T and special guest whistles go woo. So if you've seen him in the DK streets, we're going to be on at 3:30 Eastern today. So check us out after this show.
Yeah, I mean, basically the content doesn't stop here. We'll have this show today. We start at 2:30 Eastern. JSU will be doing that one. By the time that one ends, Mangone and those guys will be going live with Hardwood Live, right? And then I don't. Are you doing Final Countdown tonight, right? But I mean,
Not
basically
not
from now
not
until lock,
Thursday.
there's content.
Yeah,
Okay,
not
but there is
Thursday
a Final
nights.
Countdown tonight, right?
Yeah, Thursday nights is the one night I don't do it.
Oh,
But yeah,
okay.
there is one tonight. I think it starts at 6:30 because the slate starts at 7:30. So yeah, final countdown tonight 6:30. Hardwood show lives at 4:45 Eastern time. So check those shows out too. The Hardwood show is free. The
Yeah.
6:30 p.m. final countdown show is for premium Run Pure Sports subscribers only. So if you're not a subscriber, you want to check it out, got to become a subscriber and get in the Discord, get all that knowledge and all the good stuff we got for you over at Rum 2 Sports.
Yeah, I mean, if you're watching the show and you're not a subscriber, really it surprised me. But hey, if you're not, use that promo code GetBets. Not only will you get access to JSU's core, the final countdown, all the great content, you will get access to the bet side. You know, my plays, Tyler's plays, JJ's, the Sports Keg score with D. So there you have it. While we're giving the spiel, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and away we go. The first game on our docket tonight is the Chicago Bulls. They are laying 2 heading to New York to take on the Knicks. JSU, I wrote about this one earlier. Just a quick summary. I think the Bulls just have a better roster than the Knicks. I mean, you looked at, there's probably 2 or 3 players that might, you could argue, would be the best player on the Knicks if they were to go from the Bulls side. And even though the Knicks do play good defense in the NBA, good offense beats good defense. And I think if this is a close game towards the end, the Bulls have much better offense options to score in a half court setting. What are your thoughts on this game?
Interesting. So I agree with you that if you're just talking about singular talent, yes, the
Mhm.
Bulls definitely have that, right? You might say that they're two of their players, like they have two better players than the Knicks' best player, right? Just
Right.
overall talent wise, for sure. DeMar DeRozan's also been scoring at a very high clip this season. So I mean, and then obviously Lonzo Ball, who's been kind of more like hit or miss, honestly. But it just seems sometimes that he has the drive, and some games he, I don't know, just wants to stand in the corner. He's kind of frustrating, but he's a great defender, right? So that's a plus for that team. But I think the Knicks here at home, I think if you talk about coaching staff, just a better team where, yes, individually, the Bulls have it. Like they have the guys. But I think right now, the better team is actually the Knicks.
Oh, interesting.
I think they have a better overall roster. I think one of the biggest things for me that makes me like them here is the fact that they decided to go away from Kemba and start Alec Burks, play him big minutes with the Derrick Rose quickly coming off the bench and playing more together, giving them more minutes. I think it honestly helps that team because I love this team when Rose and Quickly get a bunch of minutes together. I think that's a really good combo for them. I think they play off each other really well. And then I think it helps the first unit kind of really let Julius Randle be the key focus where they're not it's not DeRozan, Levine, and Vucevic where they're just kind of like, you go out, give me the ball. Like they know who they're running their offense through, and it's Randall. And then they have a bunch of other secondary guys that are good enough. And I think they play good enough defense. to kind of get it done. And like I said, the fact that Tibbs figured out that like Kemba is just not it, and he doesn't fit with what Tibbs wants to do anyways. And Alec Burks fits perfectly for what Tibbs wants, which is a guy who plays both sides. He's very underrated as a basketball player, in my opinion. I don't think anyone really realized. I've been saying this for years with Alec Burks. He is a very good player. Like he can do everything. He's not exceptional as a shooter. He's not exceptional as like a driver, but he's good at all those things, in my opinion. And then on defense, I think he's a very capable defender, and I think we saw that for the fact that I know these guys have had big games, but Tibbs wanted him on Trae Young when they played Atlanta just recently, and he wanted him on Trae Young most of the game. He wanted him on James Harden as much as possible. That shows me that Tibbs understands that Alec Burks is one of his better perimeter defenders, and I think he realized I can't just go on playing Kemba 24 minutes, playing Derrick Rose 24 minutes, splitting that, and Alec Burks only getting like 24 minutes. The dude deserves more minutes, and I need him on the defensive end. And I think he finally realized that. And I think it's a plus for this team overall, personally. So I really like the Knicks here at home. It's interesting. You like the Bulls. So I guess we'll be splitting this game down the middle.
Yeah, we'll be head to head on this one. I completely agree with you on the Kemba Walker take, and Travis and I talked about it when we previewed the Knicks and the Nets on Tuesday, and we both agreed. Hey, it's one thing to make a mistake, but the real mistake is sticking with it and not being stubborn and not admitting, hey, we brought this guy in, he doesn't fit, but let's just keep trying to force it.
And
Instead,
spread.
hey,
How many coaches would just eat it and
they
just
would,
and keep
yeah,
going with it, right? Like
right.
I respect the crap out of Tibbs for being like, this isn't working, right? This is not. The identity of the team is defense. You can't sacrifice it just because you paid a guy. You just got to take the L, accept it, and try and move on. And I think that's what Tibbs is trying to do. We're hearing there might be some trade scenarios for Kemba Walker, whatever it is. I respect that he's just like, you know what, it's not working, and we got to try something else. Kemba, sorry, I mean, that's the truth. It sucks because Kemba was really good at one time. I just think
Yeah.
now it's just not. The signing made no sense. I said it before the season. It's like the opposite of a Tibbs player, right?
Mm-hmm.
Signing Kemba Walker, and they already had Derrick Rose, who is Tibbs' guy, by the way. Like Tibbs loves Derrick Rose. So like, why are you getting another one, right? Like Derrick Rose is probably better than Kemba. So why are you getting another like scorer? Pretty much, like you don't need that. You need someone who can play both sides, play the scoring role a little bit, but also be able to play defense, be able to switch, be able to guard good perimeter players. Kemba couldn't do those things.
Yeah. So yeah, we definitely agree on there. And then let's talk about some news as we switch into the DFS aspect, right? And I think this has a lot to do with my handicap and my side, right? And the news we're waiting on in this game, of course, is RJ Barrett being questionable. Zach LaVine has already been ruled in, so that's good for the Bulls. Here's what I'm thinking, JSU. If RJ Barrett sits again, I think that the Knicks offense can become too dependent on Randall. I really like Lonzo and Caruso, right, to go ahead and match up with the Rose and quickly and those perimeter guys. And if I can really get everything to funnel through Randall, but then I'm running a balanced offense on the other side, that's where I think the Bulls do have the advantage. So we're head to head on that one. But let's talk about how the RJ Barrett news affects the slate and players that you're looking at maybe from this game to roster tonight.
Yeah, I mean, RJ Barrett's a big piece of this Knicks team. Struggled a little with the shooting, early in the season. But still, that's definitely a little of a concern. Now, Spread, you lean more to the side where you think RJ is going to sit, I would assume.
I think he's going to sit personally, but
It was
I mean, who
interesting
knows?
that I really don't know what to make of it. It was interesting that he tried to give it a go and then like had to bow out halfway through the game, pretty much. Like that's what happened. He gave it a go last game, but then they said like he's not coming back. I think it was like late in the second quarter. They just reported like RJ Barrett's not going to return or something like that.
Right.
So, he gave it a go. Obviously, wasn't feeling well. Who knows? I haven't heard any other news that he missed shoot around. Have you heard anything like that? That he was he
No, I mean that's usually we're on it at 3:30, right? So we have the news. So I don't think
right?
that'll pop probably till when we jump off. But let's go ahead and just explore the idea if he sits, because I think that if he plays, right, the Knicks and the Bulls are usually teams that you're pretty fine staying away from, just from my knowledge of watching you
Right.
guys on the shows. If he does sit, who would you be interested in? And let's just say it was full strength. Is there any players that I'm leaving out? I mean,
Yeah,
Randall's usage will probably be high.
I mean, Derrick Rose,
Hmm.
quickly. I think all these guards, Alec Burks, I have
Hmm.
interest in all of them for sure if RJ sits. Derrick Rose is still 4'8". He's got the upside. I mean, they're going to need his scoring. So, especially with no Kemba. So, I really like them. Uh, Randall, I think, like, if RJ sits, it's just the ball's going to be in Randall's hands even more, right? Like for sure. So he becomes a little bit of a better spend, I would say. But my priority would be the cheaper guys,
Hmm.
specifically Derrick Rose one, Alec Burks two, because he is a little more expensive. But I do still think he can hit even at 65. I think he's 6,500 on DraftKings. I still think he can outdo that price tag. We've seen it. He does everything spread. Like you want some rebounds, some assists, steals, blocks. Like the guy can
Yeah.
do everything. Now I do think you're starting to get close to where his price tag is going to level out. I think it might level out around 6'9" to 7'1" if he
Hmm.
continues to play 37 to 39 minutes. But still, he can outdo the 6'5" on a 5-game slate if RJ's out, especially because then it's just ball in his hands a little bit more as well. So that's where I'm going. I'm going to target the mid tier and some of the cheaper options. Um, for me for the Knicks. From the Bulls side, I don't have as much interest. I think a lot of these guys are priced maybe overpriced personally. Like Vooch is
Hmm.
up towards the 9Ks. Zach Levine's up there. DeMar DeRozan's up there. Why am I paying those price tags for those guys where they're all going to take a little away from each other, right, Spread?
And Levine hasn't really been like the guy he was last year, right?
Be, because he has DeMar and Vucevic, and he knows and Lonzo, he knows he has to give them some looks too. So
Oh,
it's
I think
not
he's
like
doing
it
better
was.
from a basketball perspective. I think it's smart, right? Hey,
Yeah,
he's put up numbers for years. Let's get some wins. But from a fantasy
right.
perspective, when I'm seeing him at what is he 8-8 tonight on DraftKings for a guy, I mean, like he doesn't have that same like 40 plus upside for pure points
Well,
that
and
he
how
did
many
last year,
times
right?
Spread? How many times last year did we see Levine like he would have like 5 points after like 2 quarters, and then in the third quarter he'd erupt and score like 25 in a
Yeah,
quarter, and you'd
right,
be like,
right.
where the hell did that come from? But like
Yeah,
he was just like, screw it, I'm taking like 15 shots this quarter. He doesn't do that anymore. Like it's because they just there's more to go around, and he understands he needs to win a championship. He needs others, and they need to all have a piece of the pie. It can't just be all him all the time. I think he gets that. He's a good enough player where he understands it now. But at the same time, for fantasy, how can I pay 8-8 for him? Like
right.
I can't do that when Vucevic is going to get double digit. I mean, Vucevic had 19 shots last game. DeMar DeRozan's going to chuck when he's in the game. What did he have? He had 20 shots last game. Lonzo's going to take his jumpers. He had 8 last game. This is where these things make a difference. So, like Zach Levine, he had 18 field goal attempts, but we want like 27. That's what we want. Like Zach Levine to have like 27. And even then, like if he scores 29, but he gets you like 45 fantasy points because he's not doing much else, in the rebounds, assists, steals category, you don't love that you paid 8,800 for 45.
Exactly. Yeah, he's actually burned me a couple times. It's almost like Lillard, where we kept waiting for that breakout game, and it's just like Big T said, why don't I get on the other side and just be on, fade him all the nights that he's not doing good. So I agree with you there. Let's jump into the next game, and I don't have any action on this one. I think this was a tough game for me. Milwaukee Bucks are -4.5. Toronto Raptors +4.5 at home. Normally, this will be a spot where I really like grabbing the Raptors at home. But they've been not playing well lately. They've had 3 straight losses. They didn't cover in any of those losses. And then Milwaukee's been playing fantastic. I mean, when they have Middleton, Holiday, and Giannis all in the lineup, it's just one of the most effective lineups or combinations that we've seen. They're finally getting healthy. Some bad news for the Bucks that Brook Lopez took surgery. I wonder if he's out for the year. I know they signed DeMarcus Cousins. It's like, oh, not too happy about that. But I mean, what else are you going to do? Maybe a trade deadline acquisition, but that's obviously going to be an issue for them. I stayed away from this game because I think I can make good arguments on both sides. Am I missing some value here? What are your thoughts, JSU?
Uh, I don't blame you for staying away, I guess. I mean, if I were to lean aside, it'd probably be the Bucks too. I'm not big on Toronto right now until they get fully back to strength. Now, Gary Trent's questionable. I think he's a key piece right now, especially with OG being out. They need that outside shooting threat with Siakam there. Scottie Barnes has played really well, honestly, but still, like, he's raw talent wise. Like, I think he's going to be really good. He's going to fit exactly what Toronto wants with how they draft. They draft similar guys. Like, look at who they draft. I mean, it's very similar in the type of players they want. Guys with length, speed, size, can do a little of everything. That's just how they have been drafting these guys, and you know, I think eventually it's going to work out for them where they're going to have a really strong defensive unit when they're all healthy. But right now, we haven't seen Toronto really at full strength for that many games, right, Spread? Like, so we don't really
Exactly.
know how good this team can actually be. I think they can eventually be a solid team, but right now, how it's constructed, I think I have to lean the Bucks here. Even at 4.5, that would be my side that I would lean here. But I
And
don't
this
think you
might
need a
just be
place
me
to
being
bet.
old, right? Because Toronto at home as a dog would have been like a blind, just smash spot. Like, don't even really look into it, because they usually play so well at home, and especially having to cross the border and everything. But the Bucks are playing so well, I stayed away. Let's look at the DK side. Giannis is 12, but I mean he's just the rawest point producer, maybe except for Jokic. But I mean it's almost hard to go wrong with him. So we can kind of skip over him. What are some other options here? Middleton's been playing good, but he's hit or miss. Who are you looking at on this game?
Yeah, I mean, Giannis is the obvious play. If you want to just spend all the way up for Giannis, I have
Mm-hmm.
no issues with it at all. I loved him last game yesterday. I thought he was the best spend up for sure. Obviously crushed. No issues there. Now, Chris Middleton, this is a tougher matchup for guys like Middleton though, just because of how much length
Good point.
that this Toronto team has. Scottie
Yeah.
Barnes, Siakam, that creates issues for guys like Middleton who score on the perimeter more often. You know what I mean. And I think might cause some issues for him specifically. Um, I I I think my favorite Milwaukee guys would be like Giannis and Bobby Portis.
Okay.
Um, just because I think that when Giannis gets because see Toronto has all this length, but they don't really have like the size to actually match up with Giannis. So when they collapse in the paint, it's going to create more open shots on the outside perimeter, and it's going to lead to like Bobby Portis corner threes again. Like it's what a lot of teams have been giving Milwaukee when they lack the size and speed to stay with Giannis, and they have to collapse in the paint, and I think we're going to see it again. But those would probably be my two favorite guys. I'm not in love with this game though. I honestly
I'm
think
not.
this.
I'm not either. I was going through and there wasn't a lot that stood out to me. Let me.
I might fade this game in DFS. Honestly, like it might end up being a game that I just don't touch.
Yeah, I don't think that's not because 12K, Giannis. I mean, that really limits you. I was trying to get him into my lineups last night, and it was just so hard because I was having to punt multiple positions. Because even to work all those Clippers in, right, I was still having to spend 5, 6K. It wasn't like there were a bunch of 3.8s in there. Let me ask you one more question about this game, though, and then we'll move on. So you remember, like, I'm obviously a novice at DFS compared to you guys, but here's an observation that I made about Fred VanVleet. I almost think that he's like a cash game guy and not as much of a tournament. And my idea there is that he usually scores pretty well, but he doesn't give me those ceiling games. Did you agree with me there, or am I making this a little too simplistic?
Uh, I do kind of agree that the ceiling is tough with Fred VanVleet, especially when like The assist numbers aren't as high. He's not getting the double digits in the assist category. I think sometimes, though, that has to do with some streaky shooters on his
Mhm.
team. You know
True.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
OG, Siakam, even Scottie Barnes, all these guys, they're streakier, right? Right, spread. They're not very consistent, especially from the outside. And I think Fred gets them good looks. I just think, if you look at the numbers inside, I bet you the potential assists are there. They're just not converting at a
Right.
high rate. So I definitely think that hurts his upside. From a scoring perspective, though, I mean, he can score, right? Like
Right.
that's not what you're worried about. It's all the other stuff. Um, where I mean, he's shooting his last 5 games. He's had 3 games where he shot at least 10 threes. Um, so that you love that. Like we love
Right.
to see that. We love that volume. He's played, 39 or more minutes in 3 of his last 5. Like he's playing the minutes too. It's just like I said, all those other like stat categories that make the difference because the scoring has been there. Like
Mhm.
the shot numbers are there. I think for him, plenty. It's just more of the rest of it.
All right. Well, thank you for answering that question. Let's move on to the next game. The Oklahoma City Thunder are plus 9.5 heading to Memphis to take on the Grizzlies. Do we have news? So John Morant, he was out, right? I saw him at shoot around this morning. They posted a video of that. Probably won't play tonight. I approached this game as that he was out, and I like the Thunder here. My idea is this team just loses every game, but they cover every game. And I'm not really ready to lay it with that many points with Memphis on a bad against a bad team. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Oklahoma City 13-8 against the spread this year. Memphis is an impressive 12-9, but a lot of those games they were not laying 9.5 points. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I see 10 on DK right
Ooh, I like
now.
that. I like that.
So the Thunder, I mean, I gotta lean the Thunder here with the Memphis team, and it's just 10 points. I can't take Memphis at -10. I can't take them at ten
Right.
point favorites. It just there's no way I can do that. So I'm gonna lean the Thunder on this one. I think they can. They have the ability to keep it close too. I don't think it's crazy to think they can't keep it close. So they're down some bodies, but still got SGA, and he's the most important piece, in my opinion, to that team. So I'm gonna go the dog side here with the points.
All right, hey, I'm actually doing a fun one with you, just because me and my buddy were talking about this last night while we were working out, and obviously we're very frustrated with our hometown team. Who would you rather have for your franchise, De'Aaron Fox or SGA?
SGA.
I was thinking that too. Okay, let's move on to the DK aspect here. So John Morant, it says out here on DK. I saw him out. It just threw me off to see him at the shoot around. Maybe it just means he'll be back in a game or two. Jaren Jackson was a guy that we really liked in the 6K range at 7-1. Do you still have any interest? Josh Giddey's out as well. What are your thoughts when you're trying to build a lineup looking at this game?
Yeah. So first of all, I think that SGA with Giddy out, it's just more with him kind of orchestrating the offense where they were kind of playing him off ball a little bit more and letting Giddy
Hmm.
have some of the offensive start off. Where now, like, if with him out, I mean, 26 shots yesterday, scored 39 points. I think over 21 and a half points for SGA is a nice number. I'm seeing it right now for points. I think he's going to take another 20 plus shots, and he's going to have the ball in his hands a ton. So I don't hate the over from a points perspective. Um, Tyus Jones, I think, is interesting here too. Another
Mm,
guy, I thought D'Anthony Melton was going to eat more into his minutes than he actually did. So
hmm.
Tyus Jones, Steven Adams, I think both those guys have good prices on DraftKings. 4-3 for Steven Adams. Right now, I'm looking at an over of points of 6.5 for Steven Adams. I know Steven Adams hasn't been great, but 6.5 points against this OKC team
Right.
who has no size. I mean, yeah, give me the over of 6.5 points here. That's just where we take the shot, right? Spread. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, Steven Adams has not been that great. If you look at his numbers too, you're going to see he hasn't gone over that number in a while. But I think this is a really good spot for him to go over that number against an OKC team that struggles to guard bigs down low and handle them. They have no match for Steven Adams. Like, not one person can match his size and strength.
Yeah, I definitely want to say what's up to the chat and all they bring to the show. Because did you see this title? This by Brandon McNair. SGA equals title. Fox equals Big T.
Oh, oh, what a shot! I like it.
So definitely appreciate you guys watching and of course adding to the show with great comments such as that. Let's move on to our next one. Man, I wanted to hammer this right when I got up and I didn't. And the Pistons took money. It went all the way down to 11.5. It settled in at plus 12, opened at plus 13. They're playing the Phoenix Suns. My quick idea on this one is I like the Pistons on the idea that, it's really hard to get up for 82 games. In the NBA, is a win's a win. The Suns are coming off that big game against the Warriors last night or Tuesday night. Then they play the Warriors again on Friday night, right? So, I mean, I know, you get up for every game. And it's not like the guys aren't going to be out there trying hard. But at the same time, if they kind of overlook this team or kind of take it easy, not really, run up that score, and just go ahead and get ready for that big game tomorrow night. I could see the Pistons covering the spread here. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about that. And then, of course, the development of Cade Cunningham, because, everyone wanted to take shots that first week. Fade Cunningham was his name. But the guy's kind of coming into his own and proving why he was the number one pick. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you can see the shot looks a lot more comfortable. He looks a lot more smooth with it as well. I think the first week and a half he was kind of forcing it. Just like he knows that like if it felt like the pressure that was on him, you could like
Yeah.
feel it through the screen. Like I could just
Yeah.
see him
He was
forcing it.
pressing. Yeah, he was
Oh,
pressing.
so
Yeah.
much. And now it looks like a completely different guy. Like it looks just way more natural, right? Spread like when he's shooting the ball, it looks so much better. He looks so much more comfortable out there. I love what he's been doing. He looks like he's going to be a real good player for a long time. But I agree with you. This is one of those spots in the NBA where, like you said it, the Phoenix Suns went the one of the bigger matchups of the regular season, them against Golden State. Everyone was talking it up. It was a big spot. They handle the business. Obviously, lose Devin Booker in the process. Now they got to play Detroit at home, and it's like, God, Detroit is so bad. But man, like the Suns, there's no way they're gonna get like they're not gonna get up for a game against Detroit. Like this is gonna be one of those games they try and coast, right? Spread and when you coast, you can sometimes get caught, and this is where I think the 12 points, taking the dog here and just taking the points, I think is a good shot to cash. So I'm with you. It's not my favorite bet. We're gonna get to my favorite bet in a second, but definitely I would lean that side.
All right. Now I'm filling out this lineup
Oh,
here.
by the way, spread with the points
Yeah.
too. I also love that even in last game for Detroit, just to make this case even more, I love that they let their starters finish out that fourth quarter.
Mhm.
Like that's
I'm trying to
good
think. Did I
for
have eyes on that one? Which game are you referring to? Who did they play that game?
Portland. Portland.
Okay.
They
I
let
had that one
Cade.
on, but
They
that was the
let
same time as the Warriors game.
yes.
So it was on my second screen, but to be honest, it didn't have that much attention of mine.
They let Cade, Jeremy Grant, Isaiah Stewart. They were all in at the end. They played the all the way to the buzzer against the Trailblazers, who had them beat,
Right.
and that's good for trying to cover right towards the end.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? You
I
definitely
mean, they're a
want.
developmental team too. These are
Yep.
quality minutes. Like I don't care if they pulled CJ or whoever, right? You still want these guys to get minutes. I pulled
I
up.
never understood that. Like, what do you like as a coach? How do
Yeah,
you not just let your young guys play and give them more chemistry, get them more confidence just playing in the NBA,
exactly.
especially when you're a team like Detroit where you're not like you're not going to go anywhere anyways. Like why not let the young guys play? Why not get them more run, build up their confidence? It doesn't make it makes no sense why other teams don't do this. Like if your natural rotation is Cade Cunningham plays 32 minutes, let him play 8 minutes in the first, 8 minutes in the second, 8 minutes in the third, 8 minutes in the fourth. Well, let him do that no matter what. Like, don't change your rotation because you're getting blown out. Keep your rotation the same, and no matter what the game is at the end, give him his run. Give all the young guys their run. You could sit the vets if you want. You know what I mean? You could sit Corey Joseph. You could change his rotation if you wanted to. But in my eyes, it's like, why are you doing that with young guys? They have fresh legs. They're young. Like, they're fine.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Remember, Detroit is led by Dwayne Casey, who has, he committed a feat that I think will be tough to duplicate at JSU, and that is winning the Coach of the Year and getting fired this season. You win the Coach of the Year. I don't know how many coaches will be able to pull that off. So definitely well coached.
Yeah.
So I pulled up the numbers here. Chris Paul's 8'6". Devin Booker will be out again. Cade Cunningham 7'9". DeAndre Ayton 7'6". How are you navigating this, right? Because with Booker out, it seems like some of these Suns should be attractive.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Paul minus 130 for a double-double. DeAndre Ayton minus 250. I do think that DeAndre Ayton probably gets a double-double here. So it's a big number, though. But Cade Cunningham is plus 100 on DK for over 15 and a half points. The shots are going to be there again. I mean, that's it. I think that's a little interesting to me. Obviously, Suns are a little tougher on defense. They got a lot of guys they can throw at Cade Cunningham, too. A lot of guys with length. Mikal Bridges, I bet we'll see a good amount of time on him. Cam Johnson. Jay Crowder's a good defender. I don't know if he probably won't see as much. It'd probably be more Bridges and Cam Johnson. But
He won't by design, but they'll switch that in
they'll
a
switch.
heartbeat.
Yeah,
They won't even
they'll
bother
switch.
fighting through those screens. Yeah.
No, exactly. But I do still think, even if it's in garbage time, if Cade's getting the garbage time run anyways, 15 and a half points, like, that's a nice little number for me. Like, I could see that going over, either way. Even with the tougher matchup. Like, what is he? 15 and 25 his last two games. He had a couple struggles before that, 9, 6, 13. But the shot attempts are going to be there. Double-digit shot attempts. I mean, threes are going up. He's starting to shoot more threes again. I think the confidence is getting better. I don't hate that look.
All right, he's 7,900. Any interested in rostering him, or did they basically just price him right?
I hate rostering guys against Phoenix.
Okay.
They're just a bad. I think the style in which they play is the style that is not what you want for a fantasy game. Like, you want more of an up tempo, teams that push the ball, teams that don't want to play in the half court as much. Also teams that are less efficient in the half court. Maybe they get forced into playing faster if they get down. This team is the opposite, right, Spread? Like, they are efficient. They are good in the half court. That's where they thrive, in my opinion, is in the half court. Chris Paul is so good with the ball in his hands, and he just makes everyone better in that half court. So that's my struggle is
I learned that the
way they
hard way
play.
spending up for Curry on Tuesday night, right? And he has like the worst game in the last 5 years. So, hey, if you say don't roster any Suns, that it's not. You don't have to twist my arm there.
Don't roster. Don't roster.
I mean, don't roster anyone playing the Suns. Yeah. You don't have to twist my arm there. I completely agree with you. I have a pretty good idea what your best bet's going to be here, because we have one game left, and you said you had a bet you really like. The San Antonio Spurs are +5 playing the Portland Trailblazers, who will be playing without Damian Lillard. Go ahead and let them know, but I think I have an idea which way you're going here.
I mean, the Spurs +5 against the Portland Trailblazers, albeit in Portland, but really? No Damian Lillard? This team is not a good team. Portland is not a good team. In my opinion, they're very similar to San Antonio, especially without Dame, like, for sure. And you're going to give me 5? Give me the Spurs all day, and on Sunday, like, I'll take them and I'll sprinkle the money line in there again, +165. Just for shits and giggles, because I think they could win this game outright. You saw pretty much, if you can slow down, Nurk gets in foul trouble too, way too much. He makes some stupid fouls, by the way. Nurk is wildly inconsistent. He makes some really silly fouls. He doesn't realize that, like, when you jump forward into a guy, but your arms are straight up, it's still a foul because you jump forward into the guy. When you challenge someone at the rim, you need to jump straight up with your hands up in the air. No one can deal with that if he does it correctly, but he's got such a big body spread that he always jumps a little forward and guys collide and then they fall and he gets called for a foul and he's like, but I jumped. You put your arm straight up. You still jumped into the
Right.
guy jumping at you. Just jump straight up. If the dude dunks on you, he dunks on you. Just jump straight up. You won't get a foul called in this NBA if you do it correctly. But he can't get it through his head. He gets these foul calls all the time where he's just such a big body guy. It's easy for guys on the other side to just collide with him, and they fall hard enough that it's tough for the referee not to blow the whistle, which makes sense. I get why they blow the whistle, but it's just kind of the way he's built. It kind of works against him in some ways, in my opinion. But if you can slow down him in one of Simons or CJ, you're going to have this team dead to rights, personally. And the Spurs have some decent defenders. They got DeJounte, Derek White, Keldon Johnson. They've got some guys. Jakob Poeltl's back now too. This team is a solid team. They're not a really good team, but I think they're solid enough to go into Portland and get a dub here, or at least cover for us at 5. But I
Yeah.
do think they can get the win as well. So give me the Spurs. That's my best bet too. We're not even going to sugarcoat it here. That is
All right.
the best bet. +5 for the Spurs. Sprinkle in the money line if you want some more action. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you there. And if you look without Dame, I mean, these teams are kind of similar, right? But I get a
Yeah.
coaching advantage with the Spurs, and my guys are a little bit younger, right? I mean, it just seems like I'm getting more effort from the San Antonio team every night. Some of these veterans, man, on Portland, they check out. They check out, and that's why their results seem to me are so widely variant. They're almost like front runners. When things are going good, they're good, but sometimes they get the old like lethal weapon, like I'm too old for this, right? As you see some of the guys, Nurk and Cub just not seem to give it their all. And the way to beat both teams actually is through size. So neither of them are going to really be able to attack their major weaknesses, right? If it's a perimeter oriented game, give me these younger guys, right? Right now, I'll take DeJounte Murray over any non-Dame Lillard Blazer, right? I think he's better than CJ McCollum right now. He's better than Simons.
The other thing too is the one thing you're talking about, the young guys on the perimeter. One thing that I think has been shown that Portland struggles with is they get those when you can get Nurk switched on a little out on the perimeter, he can't deal with it. So then
he's way too slow.
Then they have to start hedging or doubling or showing. And what it does is it creates a rotation where the big is wide open rolling. And we saw it in the Golden State game where Draymond had a head of steam going to the basket from like the free throw line and got a few and ones. And how many times do you see Draymond get layups? Like layups, like free layups. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay. And then they stopped that. And what happened was it led to wide open corner threes because Portland is a terrible, I'll keep saying, they are awful at rotating. They can't do it. And it's because Nurk is so slow. If you can move the ball quick enough, you're going to get open looks. Real good looks too, by the way. So it's why Larry Nance comes in and plays a little bit more certain times, I think, because he's better at rotating. He can do all that stuff, and it's why he plays a little bit more. I think Covington is lazy. The coaching staff, like he all he does is reach. So he'll let a defender go by him, and then he'll just put his hand in and try and get that ball right when he goes by him and try and strip it. And he'll get called for the reach in if he hits the arm instead of the ball. But he's just super lazy with it. And he'll do it like 3-4 times a game. And it gets him in trouble a lot of times unless he's getting the steals constantly. In his early days, he would get the steals a lot. Right. And now he's getting exposed for it, in my opinion. Well,
I'm glad you're seeing that too, because to me, that's checked out, right? If I just reach and I'm not trying to stay in front of you and I'm not moving my feet, To me, that's lazy defense. And that's what I see with this team, especially when they start going down by 5, especially when they go down by 10, right? It seems like when they're up by 10, he's on ball playing right, but as soon as things go wrong, you see a couple of these guys, and you mentioned it with Nurkic. Well, maybe Nurkic is just trying his hardest, but he's
I
just
think
so
he
slow.
is.
It looks
No,
lazy, right?
I
But
think he is, man. And
yeah,
who's going to cover DeJounte? They're going to put
yeah, I
Simons
know.
on him? They're going to put
Yeah,
CJ? Who,
yeah.
who's
I
going to
mean, I
cover
guess their idea would be
DeJounte
Powell, right? I think that if I was running them, and Powell's questionable tonight, but
if he
even if he
plays? Yeah.
plays, that's your best option there. But boy, that's kind of a tough ass to come back from the injury from a couple games off and have to chase Dejounte around, huh? So,
Fine. Put Keldon on Covington. I'll love
yeah,
that against lazy Covington.
yeah, I just
Oh,
love the
yeah.
matchup for the Spurs here, right? It just seems like
Me too.
without Dame, they're the better version, right? With Dame, I think Dame changed a healthy Dame. Now you hear he's got an ab injury. I mean, he might be out a while. He might need surgery.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine what happened to that team? That team becomes like the Kings and like the Thunder without Dame, right? They're like some Pelicans without Zion stuff. So be interesting. Now I know we normally stay away from these teams, but it's only a 5-game slate. Will you be putting any of these guys in your lineup tonight? Who should I be looking at?
Yeah, I think this is the best game on the slate,
Oh,
personally. I think,
really? Okay, that
yeah,
surprised me as well. Let's hear it.
yeah. So we're talking about like the Spurs being the better team. I still think this game can stay relatively close. I just think that the Spurs have a chance to win the game. And if I think the dog has a chance to win a game and I get a star out from the other side, good price tags on a lot of these guys, maybe outside of
Hmm.
CJ, like it kind of makes it perfect for DFS, right? We got
Hmm.
some cheaper guys. The Spurs have a ton of mid tier guys besides Dejounte, who's obviously expensive, but he's a good spend if you want to go there.
Hmm.
They've got Derek White, who's been playing better. They've got Keldon Johnson, who's under 6K. They got Jakob Poeltl, who's 6'1". They've got some good mid tier options. And then you still have, if you want to, if Norman Powell is out, especially, you still have some cheap guys from Portland that you can take a look at. Dennis Smith Jr. took 11 shots last game. He's 3.5. You got Anthony Simons, who I think is still just under 5K. I think he's 4.9.
He's 4-9
That
today. Yeah.
Yeah, that's too cheap for Anthony Simons. Like for sure, the talent he is. Larry Nance is 3.8. I don't love
So,
Covington even at 4K, but he's still cheap. You could look there.
uh-huh.
Nurkic 7K. I like
I
this
like a
game a
lot of
ton.
value guards here. I just got to ask you this because we won't be able to get you on the final countdown tonight. So guard, right? Simon's at 4-9 or Derrick Rose at 4.8. Who would you rather have?
Oh,
So yeah, I'm making you work early. That's a good question though, huh?
yeah, that's a good question. All right, I'll give you this right here. If RJ
Okay.
Barrett's out, both those guys will be in my core.
Okay.
Like I'll give that to
Great.
the people.
That's a
Like
good answer.
I will literally give that to the people right now. If RJ Barrett's out, both those guys will be in my core for sure.
Okay. I love to hear it.
There
That's
you go.
fantastic. All right, guys. Well, we are getting close to the end. JSU, you already gave it out, but why don't you let everyone know what your best bet is, and then I will go ahead and give out mine.
Yeah, I mean Spurs, you can get them +5. Yes, sir. Sign me up. Sprinkle that money line in. Don't mind that at all. And then, I mean, just trying to see if there was any player
You mentioned a
props
couple
that I
good
love.
props that we liked, right? The double double I thought for um, not Aiton for Chris Paul was a good number,
Oh
right?
yeah, minus 130 for Chris Paul.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's still okay to go after. What is I'm looking at right now? Hold on, I'm looking at these
And then the
Spurs guys.
points prop for Steven Adams we liked at 6.5, right?
6.5. Jakob Podol +165 for a double double. I think
I
that's
like
kind of
that.
interesting. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's a little more like active, right? He's younger. I think he's
Uh
going to
huh.
give Nurkic some issues. He's had double-digit rebounds in his last 3 games, 10,
Hmm.
12, and 11, and double-digit points in 2 of those last 3.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting look as well. Um, yeah, I also do like Keldon over 14.5, especially if Keldon's going to get 14.5 points, especially
Hmm.
if Keldon's going to get a bunch of lazy Robert Covington defense.
Yeah,
which
would
I
be
think you
interested to
will.
see how that one turns out. That's going to
Yeah.
be a fun game to watch. My best bet is going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm going to grab the 9.5 there. I mean, this team loses, but they cover. For as bad as they are, right, to be 13-8 against the spread. I think that when we're talking tomorrow on the NBA Rundown, brought to you by Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets, the Oklahoma City Thunder will be 14-8 against the spread. JSU, I know that you're going to run, but you want to let everyone know where they can find the rest of your content this week.
Yeah, and the Thunder +10 on DK. So
Yeah,
get
if you have legal
that
book,
10.
I'm offshore. It's 9.5 offshore. If you're in
Yeah.
New Jersey or the legal states, grab that 10.
Yeah, grab that 10 for sure. Make sure you shop, get the best price for sure. Get that 10 if you can on the OKC Thunder. Yeah, but check us out, Run Pure Sports. If you're not a member, you want to become a member. I think RPS Heater 25, RPS Heater 25 get you 25% off your first month subscription if you want to check the Run Pure Sports side out. If you want to check both sides out, but you want to check the bet sides out, you get the Get Bets code
Yep.
too, right? Which will get you the bet
Yep.
side for free
hmm
if you get the Run Pure Sports side. So check it all out. We got good stuff on both sides. A ton of good content from these guys on the bet side, and then obviously the DFS content. If you're in the DFS showdown content, NBA, NFL, everything. UFC, we got it all. NASCAR, PGA, just everything under one price tag too. So you don't got to pay, X amount of dollars for NBA and then X amount of dollars for NFL. It's just one price tag for the month. You get all the sports that are going on at that time, and it's the best bang for your buck, in my opinion.
I agree. Hey, we got a bonus question. We talked about that Spurs game, and I think I know the answer, right? If we're going to load up on it, do you think this total goes over in the Spurs game right now on Bet Online? I see that number at 216.
Do I think it goes over? I I do think it has the potential to go over here. Yeah, just
Yeah.
Portland at home. I'll give them a little more respect at home for sure too. And I do think San Antonio can definitely keep up with them. So yeah, I guess my lean would be the over. I haven't been betting a ton of totals here though,
I
spread.
threw my totals model out, man. It's been crazy. I've been tracking them. So they were under. The lowest I got was the second week of the season. 35% of the games went over. Only 35%. Last week was the first week that it went over 50%. But with the totals going down, scoring going backing up, I'm fine staying away from it, especially because I'm doing pretty well on my side. So JSU, we got to get you out of there. And the reason we are doing that is he's about to go live on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel. So please like this video, subscribe to the channel. And then, hey, when you log out of this one, you'll see that one going live. You can hear JSU and the team break down tonight's NFL showdown slate. And then Travis and the rest of those guys will lead you up to lock with the NBA. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Like the video, subscribe.